We have to look at it from the balancing act, as Prof. Noted, between inflation and, of course, growth. Since February 27th, the last NPR, inflation rate had moved from 29.9 to 31.7. Okay. And that translates to mean that the NPR that was announced in February might not have addressed the concern, the inflationary concern of that MPC at that particular time. And now you have seen that moved. The major concern for the CBN, as of course analyzed, had been the fact of price increase, which is leading to erosion of purchasing power, one. Two, substantial increments in foreign exchange rates, virtually at a point in time, virtually every 24 hours. And three, the reluctance of foreign investors to come into the economy, principally again because of negative interest rates, negative returns on investment. And negative returns on investment is tied, to between the NPR and inflation rates. So there are apparent options. What will be the option? Okay, let us increase rates at this time. It's a trade-off. And like the governor of the central bank noted, this is to be a short-term, affair. It's by maximum the end of the year. It is expected that inflation rate would have reduced, would have declined, and would have been a good reason, to reduce, of course, the NPR. Because again, for me, would we rather that we have price instability, constant price increment, erosion of purchasing power, and on the other hand, we have production ongoing, but purchasing power is not enough to even acquire products or services. So where your 100,000 real value of your 100,000 naira in January, by March or April, would the real value has fallen to 70,000, and it cannot now purchase even those products that are being produced through more access to credits and all that. So I think for me it's basic to first address one. The Yorubas will say when a tree falls on a tree, it is the one on the top that you first remove. The major concern for perhaps 90% of Nigerians at this time is they go to the market and they realize that prices are up. Either price of food or basic amenities and all that. So I am a strong, how do I call it, promoter, no protagonist, better.
Advocate.
Protagonist of increased NPR. And I was even thinking actually that this may be the realization of the real NPR that was the intent of the CBN governor especially in the February meeting. Okay. Yes, it's because from what innuendos now that we gathered post that meeting, the governor and a number of members of the MPC were actually rooting for 6%. So perhaps it was out of moderation that they agreed on 4%, but some weeks after, the inflation rate had gone up. But again,
so will increasing it make it better?
Yes. Inflation, NPR was increased to a historical high, truly, of 22.75 in February.
Yes.
Since then, we have seen a turnaround, more or less, in the forex markets, in foreign exchange rates. And of course, we all agree that foreign exchange rates has a strong pass-through effect, on domestic prices. And by now, some Nigerians have started, profiling prices that are dropping, as a result of the fall in exchange rate. In January, I think second week January or so, exchange rate went as high as 1,900 to $1 in the black market.
Almost 2,000.
Yes. It is now at 1,003, 380 as at yesterday in the official market. Now, what that tells me is that that rate that was announced at that time, had effect. Now we have more inflow. We have recorded more inflow, increased inflow. In February alone, 2.3 billion. While in the whole of 2023, we inflow in terms of remittances, that is diaspora remittances, and the foreign investment inflow was just about 3.9 billion. So, and in 29 days, we were able to generate 2.3 billion of scarce, which was a scarce resources at that point in time. So it does mean that a policy had been streamed, and it's having effect. So we cannot talk about the ineffectuality of the MPR rate, as it were, in February. So we believe that perhaps with this additional increase, one, if the policy had been...
What he's saying is that it is not totally adverse to the increase in the policy, but it should have been given more time before another increase is announced.
Because again, where you see trouble, you do not also tolerate it. It's from far that you know the potency of a crisis. So if you have the capacity to address that crisis in the immediate, it is better than for it to linger and of course become a storm, So I think, one, we have seen and we are experiencing the positive outturn of the last MPR, We have seen about $1 billion came into the country in February through FDIs, that we were not expecting. But it was like an immediate thing. You saw more inflow into the fixed income securities. You even saw more inflow after the first 3 or 4 days negative reaction in the equity market. The equity market even rebounded because some foreign investors also came in, foreign portfolio investors also came in, So if you have that kind of effect, and you now see the movement of the inflation figures moving up again, it becomes a concern. So how do we address this inflation rate that it should not get out of control again? One, we need to sustain the interest of foreign investors, as it has been triggered. They stayed away for close to 3 years in this country. Remittances, the diaspora remittances was as low as 600 or something million
but
in 2023.
Sustaining the interest of the foreign investors to affect our own economic growth, how positive is that?
It should affecting us. We should be congratulating ourselves now that while we had a burdensome concern over forex rates, that was also impacting our goods and services, in the last few months. Now we can start breathing a sigh of relief, because this will also reflect even in our basic products, petroleum, PMS. There are calculations now that PMS will likely fall below 560, per liter from the 680 that it is now. That's because true. It is also calculated on foreign exchange rates. So it's the foreign exchange rate is a major contributor to price templates across all sectors, across all consumption sectors. So if this rate, and it's yet to be proven otherwise, that it is not it is not this rate that is impacting the foreign exchange rate decline that we are seeing. Forex is a major contributor to Nigeria's development. And as long as there is access to it at predictable and stable price, for the first time in about 8 months now, we can say, okay, in the last 3 weeks, we've had a more stable, more moderate movement in the foreign exchange segment of the market. Yes, price had continued to increase, but again, this may also be a strong application, a strong policy deployment to address concerns over inflationary rates.